Hi, I'm Laura Siemens and you're watching the Environmentalist Movement. So I've been pretty vocal over the last little while about the problems I see in the environmentalist movement. And whenever I am vocal about that and I talk about the different problems that I see, I always get these comments set back to me like, it's really sad that you don't care about the environment, or it's really weird that you're a Christian and you don't care about the planet. Okay. So for the record, I do care about the environment, and actually as a Christian, God has commanded me to take care of the environment. But as it turns out, you can care about the environment without actually jumping into the full environmentalism cult. So before I go into my series, I want to take this video to kind of explain to you a little bit about who I am and what I do to care about the planet. So I'm sitting out here on my deck, and by the way, if you hear a humming noise as we're doing this video, I think my neighbor's working on something over in his garage. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about our house. So we got a really old house. I absolutely love old things. I love the historical backgrounds of it. And the house that we bought is definitely a fixer-upper. All of the houses that we bought have always been fixer-uppers. We like to find old things and restore them back to where they originally were. And one of the places I love to shop as I am finding ways to fix our house up and restore it back to its original place is Habitat for Humanity. I absolutely love it. For one thing, you're finding really old things that have like maybe a story behind it, and you're putting it in your house, you're reusing things, and on top of all that, not only is it cheaper, so it's a great way to be able to do home renovations on a budget, but also the money that you give helps towards giving people who don't have homes a home. So I always tell people to shop at Habitat for Humanity. It's absolutely great. And in our home, a lot of the renovations that we do is either Habitat for Humanity or finding things on Goodwill or hand-me-downs from people who aren't using them anymore. Most of the things in our house and most of the renovations we do are things like that have been hand-me-downs, because I do believe in recycling, reduce, and reuse. All right, so welcome in here to my living room, and let me tell you, I hate waste. I mean, I absolutely hate waste, but I believe you can make a beautiful place without being wasteful. So pretty much everything in this room has come used from Goodwill or has been passed down. So we've got our TV stand is actually just a dresser I got off Kijiji. Our couches are off Kijiji. The ottoman is a hand-me-down. We've got our piano, which was a hand-me-down, and lots of really cool, oh, over here, let me tell you some really cool stuff over here. Okay, I love this lamp, and my friends in college used to laugh at me. I've had this lamp since college, but I was babysitting for a family in college, and they had this in their attic, and they were getting rid of it, and they thought that it was ugly. I really love it. So that lamp has been around for like forever. We have over here, we've got artwork, which is, I just have my kids, pictures of my kids. And then this is artwork that my aunt did. She's an amazing artist, and that's some of her artwork. And then our piano, which was hand-me-down from my other aunt. Hey, okay, so we're back here in my kitchen, and I'm gonna show you some of the things that we do here in our kitchen. It has to do with recycling and reusing. So first of all, here in my cabinet, you'll see I use a lot of jars for things. And some of the jars that I use, a lot of them are just things like, this was just a jar from having pasta sauce. Take the plastic off and wash it. And now when we buy product, because we have a large family, so I'll buy like a big bag that's bulk instead of buying a lot of containers, and then we try to reuse our containers. We use jars a lot for pretty much everything. That's not the only thing that we reuse. We also actually, I have a bin here full of these tins that we have whenever we have a container with tin in it. Like beans or pasta sauce or something like that. And I save them for my father-in-law. He is an amazing artist. And let me show you something that he makes with it. All right, I don't know if you could see this here, but he makes amazing art, my father-in-law, and he uses tin for that. And this is like a dragonfly. He also makes a lot of flowers, makes a lot of really cool things. And actually, if you look here in our kitchen, this is our center block table. He built that, and he also built our table there in the back. He's really good at doing artwork, so we try to save as much things as we can for him. All right, one more cool way to reuse containers is we use them actually as glasses. So this is just a pasta jar, and we took a lid and then just drilled a little hole in it where your straw, and yes, I use plastic straws. We'll do a whole video on plastic straws another day. But yeah, it's great. This is my smoothie drink, and so I can take it with me, and I don't have to have go out and purchase a glass for your smoothie drinks. I can just take this with me, which works really well. Okay, so when I talk about environmentalism things, one, I get told, hey, you should be caring about the environment, you should be using things, which I obviously totally do. But the other thing I get attacked about is people say, wow, like you don't care about animals, and I have to tell you, I absolutely love animals. Like anyone who knows me knows I absolutely love animals. So I'm gonna introduce you to two of my favorite animals. So come here, puppies. Come here. Okay, this is my puppy Eve. I have another one that looks just like it, Willow, and she's hiding over there, but this is Eve. And ever since my husband and I have been married, we've always had pets. We've had 3 dogs, we've had a cat, we had 4 fish, although my kids thought we had 2, but they both died and got replaced at one point. We even had a pet frog, we had crabs. We've always had animals in our house. And actually in our very first house, we had a pond that we had fish in. So I guess we've had even more fish if you think about them. So I absolutely love animals. I can't stand when I see or hear things about animals being mistreated. I really don't like that, and I think it's wrong. It's actually immoral if you're hurting an animal. That's wrong. 2 of my daughters ride horses, so we're at the barn often, and I absolutely love horses. I always wanted a horse. So yeah, we definitely love animals here in our house and have lots of them. And she's the cutest, right? I love this dog. She's so cute. All right, so the things I get told are things like you should be taking care of the planet and reusing stuff, which I obviously do. I'm told it's really sad you don't care about animals. I obviously love animals. The other thing I hear all the time is like, wow, like do you just like throw garbage outside, and it's really sad that you don't care about the environment, but nature. I definitely love nature, and right now I'm going to show you our backyard because it's absolutely amazing. So that was a quick little walk through our backyard, but wait until you see what's in the very back. This is the best part. All right, come on. Okay, so here we are in my backyard. Can you believe it? We used to live in the city, and I was so excited when we were able to move out of the city and out into a place where I could have more of this. I've always wanted to live by the water. We don't have a canoe or a kayak yet. It's something I really want. I haven't been able to find one on Kijiji yet, and I don't like paying full price for things. I'm definitely a buying used person. So we don't have a kayak yet or a canoe, but hopefully by next summer. That's one of my goals. So I think sitting out here by the water is probably a good place to talk about why I don't fit into the environmentalist movement. So if you're watching the video, you might think you kind of sound like you are. I mean, I'm all about reusing things. I'm all about recycling things. I love old things, I love restoring things, I love animals, I love nature. I mean, it sounds like I should be part of the environmentalist movement, so why am I not? Why am I always criticizing it, and why am I so against it? So it's really important to remember that just because somebody doesn't think your solution is the right solution doesn't mean that they don't care about the problem or don't believe that the problem is there. So let's go all the way back to when I was a little kid. Okay, so when I was in elementary school, that's when they really started bringing out the whole recycle, reduce, reuse things. And it wasn't like it is in elementary school now. It wasn't, you know, shoved down our throats or anything like that. It was a little more subtle. But there was posters places, definitely. Saturday morning cartoons were chock full
of those commercials. And I remember Archie comic books, the back page used to a lot of times have a little comic cartoon with Archie reminding you to recycle, reduce, reuse. I remember one time being at a fair and there was this big poster about recycle, reduce, reuse, and some kid had like thrown up right underneath of it, and we were all laughing at, oh, somebody knew how to recycle, reduce, reuse. Anyway, but I remember being in elementary school and we went to this field trip. It was like a zoo or like a petting zoo or something like that. It was in Newfoundland, so I don't think they have like a zoo, but it was something like that. And we were walking around and looking at things, and there was this box there. And the box had something written on it like, look inside to find out what is the worst animal hurting the forest or something like that. So I opened the box and look inside, and it's a mirror. And I knew instinctively that it was wrong. And I'm not wrong like in factually incorrect. I meant wrong in like, this is a bad message. This is not a good message to be giving to people. And I didn't understand at the time because I was just little. I just knew it was a bad message. And now when I look back, I think what a terrible thing. Like, it was a place obviously for children. And you're going to tell children that, guess what the biggest problem in the world right now? You. Why would you do that? Like, it's so wrong. But that's what our environmentalist movement is about. It has so many of these messages that are just not right. So I was in elementary school during the 80s, and even though I wasn't a big like hairspray person, I've never really been like a big makeup hairspray person, but a lot of my friends were. And in the 80s is when we had the message that the ozone layer was going to evaporate or something, like big holes in it, and that because of that, the rain was going to turn into acid and it was going to like burn us all. And you know whose fault it was? All the girls who used hairspray. It was our fault. Our hairspray was going to make acid rain, and cow farts. Cow farts and hairspray were going to make acid rain. Now, thankfully, we thought that was a joke, and we would laugh about it a lot because, like, really? Cow farts are going to make acid rain? But think about it. I mean, imagine if we had taken that seriously. And I lived in Newfoundland where it would rain and be windy, and imagine if that rain was acid and you had that acid blowing in your face. That's actually a terrifying thing. Why would they tell us that that was something that was going to happen? I don't know. I'm glad that they've at least changed that story, although it's pretty bad now what they're telling kids. But why would you tell children that? That's just horrible. So when I was in high school, I much more embraced the movement. I actually became a vegetarian. I was a vegetarian for like 12 years. I was a vegetarian for a really long time. I like really, really embraced the vegetarianism thing. I became anti-hunting. I was anti-gun, completely anti-gun, which might shock some of you. I was even anti-toy guns. I didn't think you should have toy guns. I was like completely anti-gun, extreme, and definitely anti-hunting. I didn't like that the farms were killing animals, so I guess I was anti-farming. I even wore some clothes that were made out of hemp at the end of high school, beginning of college. So I was really in the movement all the way through high school and college. And it just came from like, I loved nature and I loved animals. I didn't want animals to be killed, and I didn't want anything to happen bad to nature. So when I was in high school, we had to watch this video and read this essay that was about overpopulation. And the whole idea was that we should only have one child, get married, have two children, only replace yourself, that's it. And that we shouldn't have more children because there's this big problem with overpopulation. Now, I had the same reaction to that I did when I was at the zoo as a little kid. I just knew that was not correct. That was not just a wrong message factually, but that it was just a wrong message in general. And as a Christian, I've been raised to believe that God loves all of us. He loves all people, but that he wants us to love people as well. We're supposed to love all people. And we're not supposed to see people as a problem or as something to get rid of. We're supposed to be loving to people. We're supposed to know that people have worth and value. And the worst thing about this essay and this video, I remember listening, is that it was really targeting other areas of the world, like India and China. They're talking about their one child policy, which, by the way, has turned out to not be a good policy for them. But I remember thinking, this is really bad. Like, we're saying that there's too many people in India. Like, shouldn't we love all the people in India? So I knew right away that that was a problem, but I kind of saw it as that's not the real environmentalist movement. That's just like a fringe group. But what I didn't realize is that that was actually the foundation of the whole movement. So I went to university in the States, and when I was in the States, I definitely heard some other points of view that I wasn't hearing here in Canada on the environmentalism movement, on guns. I definitely heard a different viewpoint on guns when I was in the States, on hunting. And it didn't change my mind while I was in college, but I did hear those arguments, and I did see that there was actually some valid points to be made on the other side of the argument. So I came back to Canada, got married, had kids, and then my daughter was, I think, 3 or 4, and I'd taken her to a birthday party, and one of the moms at the birthday party was completely freaking out because she just watched this movie called Unconvenient Truth with Al Gore. And she was completely convinced that our kids weren't even going to make it to high school. And if they did make it to high school, the world would be a completely different place. And like half of North America wasn't even going to be here anymore. And I remember thinking, are you for real? Like, you actually believe this? Like, how can you believe this? And this was really the start of going from just, let's care about the environment, take care of it, to like a doomsday, the end is coming. I mean, that was, for me, it was the first of hearing that, but actually once I started studying, I realized it's been doomsday, the world's going to end since like the 50s. And, you know, hasn't happened yet. Right, my kids ended up going to school, and when my daughter was in grade 3, she had a really environmentalist teacher. And we were at a private Christian school, so I didn't think we were going to have the problems that we had. But she ended up having this project, like literally, it was called the Tree Friend Project, and part of her project was actually to hug a tree and write a poem to the tree. And I was like, no, she's not doing this project because trees are not her friend. She'll do the research on trees and all the science part of it, but she's not hugging a tree, writing a poem to a tree. She's supposed to sit under the tree and look up at it and think about the tree. No, you're not doing any of those things. The same year, there was a chapel service, there was a skit that she was in, and it was Noah's Ark. And the big message for us to learn from Noah's Ark was that we should save the animals like Noah did. I think you missed the point of this story, because it was not about saving the animals at all, because most of the animals die in the flood. So I ended up that year spending a lot of time going in to speak to the teachers, going in to speak to the principal, and about all the environmentalism stuff that was being taught and kind of pushed on them. And we would tell our daughter the other sides of the story, and she would go into class and she would give the other points in class, and she was shot down and told, like, she basically wasn't allowed to say those things, even in the private school. And even to this day, she won't speak in class anymore. It's number one comment I get, even now in high school, from her teachers, is that she's not vocal in class, doesn't speak out. It goes all the way back to grade 3 when she was speaking out in class, and she'd always spoken out in class up until that point. But just, you cannot question the environmentalism movement at all in any way. And they will just jump down you, and she's afraid now. Still, she won't speak out in class. I ended up reading the notes from a speech from the man who was the CEO of World Wildlife Fund. And he had said that he hoped when he died, he'd be able to come back as a disease so he could kill as many people as possible. At the same time, I'm a pro-life advocate, and so I was going and speaking on pro-life issues, and I was finding that one of the reasons people give for abortion is the environmentalism movement. They would tell me that they believed we needed to have abortion because it would get rid of part of our human population, and the only way to save the planet was to get rid of our human population. And so I saw all of this stuff. I saw, like, the CEO saying he wants to come back as a disease. I saw all the pro-abortion things in the form of environmentalism. I thought back to my high school days, watching that article, reading the article and watching that video on overpopulation. And then even all the way back to being a little kid in the zoo and opening that box and seeing my own picture. Like, I'm the reason that the forest is a problem. There's problems with the forest. And I realized that at the heart of the environmentalism movement is anti-human. And I can't be part of that. I can't be part of a movement that's main foundation is to hate human beings, to hate other people, to think the world would be better if there was less people, instead of loving people and wanting there to be more people. We do have really big problems. Actually, right here, this is a beautiful river, but I wouldn't go swimming in it because there's a lot of bacteria in there. The ocean, there's large parts of the ocean that are absolutely so full of garbage. It's absolutely disgusting. We have so many birds that we don't have anymore that are dying. And that's a big problem, not just the fact that we're going to have more mosquitoes, which since I live near the water, I really don't like that we have so many mosquitoes already. But more mosquitoes, that's also going to mean diseases. So there are some real problems that we absolutely need to deal with. But every time I look at the environmentalism movement, their solution is higher taxes and socialism and giving our freedom away and giving more power to the government. At the same time, I always see the West is the one being targeted, that we need to solve the environmentalism crisis by giving up our freedoms. In fact, they want communism to come into Canada because that's going to solve the problem. And yet, if you go to the communist countries, they're kind of the worst ones for polluting. So I think definitely the environmentalism movement has a problem with it being so anti-human, and I don't think any of its solutions are going to work. So I'm going to be doing a new series, and it's going to be on environmentalism. We're going to tackle one thing at a time. We're going to go through how it is a religion and why Christians absolutely cannot be part of it. Because you cannot worship the creation and the creator. You can worship the creator and respect the creation. You cannot, absolutely cannot worship both the creation and the creator. You're going to have to choose. We're going to do a video on that. And we're going to talk about some of the different things like straws and Greta and kids skipping out on school and socialism and communism and the carbon tax. So we're going to talk about all of these different things. But what reason I did this video first is because we could start off on a base that if you accept all of those things, you accept the environmentalism movement, you think we're all going to die in 12 years, which by the way, we're not. We're absolutely, like, it's okay. Relax. You're fine. If you have all those things and you disagree with me, I don't want you to start off by thinking, oh, you just don't care about the environment. Like, you probably just take all your garbage and throw it in the backyard. And I drink with straws all the time. None of them have ended up in this river. Not even one. Crazy how that works. All right, so this is the first video, a little bit about who I am, so we can maybe start off on a base, knowing where we stand. If you don't want to miss any, make sure you subscribe so you'll get all of them. In the meantime, remember, you can care about the environment without worshiping it.